coming to you from beautiful mountaintop in Central America, looking down over the Pacific beaches. Actually sitting out here on my back terrace, wanting to bring you some ideas and concepts about a new video series that I've produced. I want to bring to you, I call it Acquiring the PT Status. That's a term that's been used before, it's not original. If you haven't come across it, PT can stand for a number of things. We could start with private traveler, permanent tourist, one of my favorites, previous taxpayer. We could talk about being prepared thoroughly, or people of talent. There are a number of things. Private transactions. PT stands for a lot of things, and they're all good. If you can acquire that status, it's very beneficial, and that's the whole purpose of this video series. All right, the objectives, really, the key objectives are to be able to fly under the radar and achieve a level of invisibility. With that, it's very difficult to be attacked, right? And wherever you are, you appear as though you're from somewhere else. Did you know that the local revenue enhancement laws, the compelled performance requirements that everybody wants to stick you with, they only apply to a certain legal class of people, and that's the locals. To put it in common vernacular, all right? Those don't apply to the tourists that come strolling through, to the travelers that meander through your territory, all right? So wouldn't you like to be considered a tourist or a traveler right where you are right now? So those local compelled performance requirements don't stick to you. And there's fundamental, sound, legal basis for this. This isn't some concoction dreamed up by, some dreamers in a bar somewhere. All right? So why is all this important? Well, as a PT, you've got fewer restrictions on you, less controls, not near as many intrusions into your life. Government loses interest. If you've got nothing to take, nothing to garnish, nothing to lien or levy, guess what? You're not interesting anymore. The rules are set up for us to be fleeced. And I think you understand that by now. I don't need to explain that. If that's a new concept to you, then this video series is probably not for you. You've got some learning to do. I'm sorry. Okay, but we're set up to be fleeced. But being a PT establishes a certain legal positioning, a legal status that puts you in a position where you appear as though you're from somewhere else. And really you are. You come from another sandbox. The rules that apply to the sandbox that you're in right now only apply to those people that are in that sandbox. Pick up your toys, move to another sandbox where different rules apply. Okay? I don't mean to be condescending. I'm just trying to illustrate a point here. All right? So these are very important issues. And we get right down to it. You know, we were talking about keeping more of your money that you generate, paying less taxes. Everybody pays taxes, but you pay a heck of a lot less. We talk about fewer lawsuits in terms of zero. If there's nothing to be gained from a lawsuit, then guess what? That lawsuit never happens, does it? As I mentioned, no liens, no levies. You know, tourists are always welcome wherever they are. Did you ever notice that? Tourists are there to have money. They have money. They want to spend that money. All countries welcome tourists. They promote tourism. They want people to come as tourists. In fact, in Panama, they actually have tourist police. Their only purpose is to make tourists feel comfortable and protected and to help them and to give them a good experience. Why? So they come back or stay longer. They feel safe. They feel protected. Wouldn't you like to be a tourist in your own town? That's what we're talking about. All right? All right. Now, when things get dicey, and we're seeing it happen all over the world, and you know it could happen right in your own neighborhood, you know the risks that are out there, you know the potential for disaster, unrest, chaos that exists right in your own neighborhood. When things get dicey, a PT has the capability and the options to move on down the road. You've got an escape route, a landing pad. You've got a plan in place. You've got assets positioned. You've got a business that you can run anywhere. You don't have to stay home to run the business. All right? So, these days, you realize, of course, that everyone is a criminal, right? Everyone has broken several laws. There are so many laws, regulations, statutes on the books. It's impossible to go through the day without breaking probably several. And so the question is, how long will it be before you come up on a target list? Before you tick somebody off, get someone's attention, and they start looking at you. All they have to do with the surveillance state now, they just go back into the files, find 2 or 3 things they want to come at you for, and you're cooked. That's it. Now what do? All right? These are critical issues. So you need to have the ability to be invisible, to drop off the radar, to be immune from attack, to be a pauper on paper, but yet live like a king. You don't have to own things to enjoy them. Look at where I live, in the middle of paradise. No one can ever take this house from me. Why? Because I don't own it. It's a pretty simple concept. Okay? So I know you're thinking this is probably just outdated, regurgitated, old information, doesn't apply anymore. This guy's out here just trying to promote this or that. And let me put that to rest right now. These concepts that I get into in our video series, Acquiring the PT Status, I've applied in my life for the last 20, 25 years. I apply them in my life today. You might be thinking, well, laws have changed. Banking restrictions have increased. They've tightened up on this area and that area, and what used to work before doesn't work anymore. And, to an extent, you're right. To an extent, you're right. But there are immutable laws, immutable concepts that do not change with time. There's one law that I can think of, just for an example. The law is 4 words. Thou shalt not murder. Now, is that outdated? No. It's immutable. It's never going to change. All right? And so it's up to us to live according to these concepts, these maxims of law that are 100% compliant, to understand the foundation of legal compliance, the fundamentals of law, so that no matter what legislative whims come around, no matter how the regulations change, either we're in 100% compliance of that, or in the best case scenario, they just don't apply to us. And we have to understand, that's one of the simplest things that we can do, is to understand who certain things apply to and who is free. And that's what this video series is all about, is establishing the legal basis of who is subject and who is free. All right, so when we get down to it, there's 4 different videos that we'll be getting into. And I go into great detail on these specific subjects. Okay? The first video is called Private Traveler. How do you set yourself up with papers, with ID, with your proper positioning, so that you always appear, even when you're at home, you appear as though you're from somewhere else. You're not a local subject. You're not subject to those revenue enhancement regulations, motor vehicle code. Okay? So in the Private Traveler, video number 1, we're going to establish the foundation of understanding. And it's important to really start with this video, because this is going to establish the basis for the subsequent videos that I'm putting together. All right. Video number 2 is called The Previous Taxpayer. Now, this is really a substantive video that gets into the legal basis for positioning yourself again so the revenue enhancement codes do not apply to you. Are we talking about violating the law? No, absolutely not. We're talking about understanding the law and positioning ourselves so that we are 100% compliant with the law, and that those revenue enhancement regulations simply don't apply to us anymore. All right? The naysayers, the mainstream media, the liberal wackos will try to paint the picture, oh, these people think that they're above the law. No, 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 no. It's not a matter of being above the law. It's a matter of understanding the law and positioning ourselves accordingly. Okay? Being intelligent. Using applied knowledge so that we have wisdom. And then we can play the game according to the rules of the game. It's that simple. All right? So that's video number 2, Previous Taxpayer. Video number 3 is called People of Talent. And this is where we talk about, and we'll get into specific how-to, step-by-step procedures for establishing a business that is location independent. Meaning you can run it from anywhere. So if you want to be topside on the top deck of a yacht that you're renting for the week in the harbor of Monte Carlo in Monaco on the French Riviera, you can do it from there. Maybe you want to find a beautiful hammock on the Caribbean beach somewhere with a Wi-Fi connection. You can do it from there. Maybe you just want to stay where you're at, stay home. You don't have to travel anywhere. It's just nice to be able to have the option, isn't it? If you want to stay home, you just do that. Enjoy where you're at. Okay? So having a location-independent business is critical and fundamental to being able to enjoy the kind of freedoms that we're talking about. And this independent business, if you have a corporate job or a government job, this is going to give you the ability to replace that income that you have right now so that you are no longer dependent on showing up at that cubicle, getting on the treadmill every day and doing what you do, if by chance you don't particularly enjoy it. This will give you options. All right? So this is really a fundamental video, and it's really important to be able to be a person of talent and set that business up. If you don't worry if you don't have any ideas on what to do for a business. I can walk you step by step in setting up a business where you can be basically an internet tycoon. You'll have properties all over the internet generating multiple streams of revenue for you. Okay? So I can help you with that. I've got a program now that's currently in process. All right, so the final video, number 4 in the series, is called Private Transactions. Banking is a critical issue these days, isn't it? If you're generating revenue and cash flow, you need to be able to manage it within the banking system. And that's one area that has gotten quite restrictive. We can't recognize the banking system compared to 10 years ago. The way it is now and the restrictions that are being applied all over the world. All right, so that's going to be critical. And so the point is, each of these videos gets into very specific disciplines. Each one is dependent upon what you learn in the other. All right, so you need to have the entire series under your belt, but I've divided it up so you can take it at your own pace, according to your own budget, and do things at your own speed. So, while a lot of this information is quite entertaining, it's a lot of fun, it's very empowering, we also need to take it very seriously, because this is not just fun and games. The situation of the world is deteriorating. You know that, I know that. Things are getting pretty ugly. Could be in your own local area. Probably will be. It's just a matter of time. All right? So these issues are not just fun and games. We're talking about life and death, really. if things get nasty in your area, what's your escape plan? Do you have an escape route? Do you have a landing pad? Are you set up so that your papers are such that you're welcome in various places? And you have the options at your fingertips to be able to go to those various places if the need arises. Okay, we're talking about potentially life and death issues here. So it can be very serious. So being as serious as it can be, where are you going to go to learn this stuff? I've been involved in the freedom movement, patriot movement, legal reform movement, tax reform movement, whatever you want to call it, for 25 years. I've been in these circles. And I'll tell you from my own experience, and you can verify this, nobody else is teaching this. Nobody else is sharing these concepts with you the way that I am. I'm not aware of anybody. There are people that want to impress you with, the stamps they have in their passports and tell you where to do offshore gold and silver storage. Maybe move offshore and live in an expat conclave on a farm somewhere, and those are all great ideas up to a point. But then these are the same people that tell you, yeah, you need to continue filling out your forms. Here's how to do it properly. Continue being a citizen subject with the Velcro jacket where everything sticks to you, and be subservient for the rest of your life. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, we're talking two different animals here, right? So, with that in mind, I just want to convey to you that I've been doing this for 25 years, and with my face on the camera, looking right at you, I'll tell you straight up, I have not filed state or federal forms for 20 years. Actually, longer than that. 1991 was the last time I did. Am I concerned about that? Am I looking over my shoulder? Do I live in fear? Look around. Does it look like it? I live in peace and tranquility with confidence. And let me tell you why. It's because of the federal courts. The federal courts have determined that each citizen not only has the right, but also has the duty to be his own private attorney general, to enforce the laws as they are written. And that's exactly what I do. I'm a law enforcer. You can say, Mark, what do you do? Well, I'm in law enforcement. I'm not real aggressive about it, but if anybody wants to intrude on my life, if anybody wants to try and impose themselves on my life in a way that I'm not comfortable with, I'm here to enforce the law. And with that knowledge and its applications that give me the wisdom to live my life and manage my life accordingly, I live without fear. I have no fear. I walk with the Spirit. God provides for me. I'm in 100% in compliance with the law, and that's how I go forward. And that's how you can be too, living in peace, tranquility, and be your own private attorney general, enforcing the law. And we'll get into the legal foundations in these videos, all right? So, how did I learn all this stuff? Where did all this come from? I'm no different than you. I was just a working slug, doing my thing, trying to survive, on the treadmill like everybody else does. And one day, the IRS intruded on my life, and they said they wanted a bigger cut than what I had expected. And I felt in my heart, this is not right. I got a big bonus from an insurance company I was working with at the time. They wanted it. And I thought to myself, I'm the one that worked for this. I think I deserve it. I'm the one that earned it. And so I just said no. I didn't know why or where, how I was going to fight them. I just knew in my heart this wasn't right, and I said no. And I started cracking the books and started figuring it out after the fact. So I made my stand, and I went out looking for the support to back me up. And one thing led to another. If you read my book, One Freeman's War and the Second American Revolution, you'll understand a lot of the adventures that I had and how that whole thing unfolded. But one thing led to another. Pretty soon I was studying the law and uncovering all kinds of fraud. And I became very active in law enforcement. I was getting in the faces of the courts. I would show up in the courts just for recreation to get in the faces of the county prosecutors. I would very politely and respectfully establish my position with the traffic officers on the side of the road. Had all kinds of fun with that. We dealt with the auto registration issue. We dealt with taxes. We dealt with zoning and work permits on your own property. The whole gamut. You can get into all my adventures in One Freeman's War in the Second American Revolution. But the point is, I'm just like you. I got harassed. I got bullied. They wanted to, gang up and bully up on me. And I said no. And later I figured out how to defend myself. Alright, so it's not a matter of going around picking fights, although I did that myself personally just for fun for a number of years. But no, it's a matter of defending yourself, being your own private attorney general, and enforcing the law. Alright, so I'm no different from you in that respect. I just want to live my life in peace, be left alone, and manage these things. Alright, so what's the payoff? Alright, what are you going to get out of these videos? Alright, here you are right now. If you do nothing and continue in your current position, you are a citizen subject. You are subject to all the revenue enhancement codes, compelled performance requirements, required to fill out forms, pay fees, be subject to fines, and literally just be subservient the rest of your life. You're on the corporate treadmill. You're struggling for survival if you're like most people. If you own a business, hopefully, you may be one of the few that are more successful than not. But even so, you're paying everybody else first, and by the end of the month, what you have left is a lot less than what you could have if you weren't paying everybody else first. And you know what I mean. FICA, FUTA, insurance, employees, taxes, Obamacare, the list goes on. So that's where you're at right now. You follow this series. It's only 4 videos in this series at this point in time. And you'll be in a position where you can get up in the morning, and because your location-independent business is generating all of the financial resources you need to take care of your personal needs, you don't have to work so hard. And if you don't have to work so hard just to survive and enjoy life, that means you have more time. More time for your family, more time for personal development. Maybe you want to learn the piano, learn a new language, spend more time in the gym, go out and play with the dogs, whatever. Right? This is the kind of life that we're all destined for, that we were all intended to live, where we can devote our energy and our resources to personal development, to the projects, the causes, your church, things that you have an interest in. Be creative. Build, develop, grow. That's what life is all about. But we can't do it if we're living on the corporate farm, walking that treadmill every day, right? All right, so if that's what you're looking for, and if you're really serious about it, and by that I mean you're not just one of these types that just goes and whines and complains on Facebook and likes certain posts at night and then wakes up the next morning to get up and go onto the treadmill just like he always had. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking if you're really serious and want to do something to live this life that I'm talking about, start with this video series. All right? Invest in yourself. Invest in some mentoring. Invest some time, some energy to learn these things. And in the process, you'll see yourself being empowered. You won't be living in fear like you are right now. You'll be living with the possibilities of life, with the capabilities of a PT. That's what we're talking about. All right? So, if you want to break through in your life, this video series is for you. If you're just going to continue doing what you're doing and you're comfortable with that, well, God bless you. But I'm here to help if I can. All right? So, This information is for you. What you do with it, it's entirely up to you. The first video is only $47 and go from there. The question is, what's your life worth to you? What's your future worth to you? Only you can decide. All right? Anyway, thanks for your attention. God bless you. And I hope to see you again soon in one of the videos coming up. All right? Take care and God bless.
Thank you.